Thanks again, David, and thank you, VB. Congratulations on the report. It is an absolute page-turner. Apply online, get it sent to you, get up to date with the state of play in cyber in 2025 from the industry perspective. And as David pointed to, who better now to go to than our next speaker? We are going right to the top, here to share her insights on the state of cyber in 2025, and we probably will have time for a couple of quick audience questions with some roving mics when our speaker is done. No less than Australia's National Cyber Security Coordinator. Please welcome to the stage Lieutenant General Michelle McGuinness.
Thank you. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Look, I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Yugambeh people, and pay my respects to elders past and present. And I want to extend my respect to all First Nations people here with us today. Let me thank Adam for that introduction, and David, I'll fix you up later. I also really want to thank the AUSCERT folk here. What a fantastic conference. I understand it's one of the longest serving running security conferences in Australia. That is no mean feat on its own, and perhaps a reflection on the criticality of the topic, and moreover the criticality of the people who live and breathe it every day. That's all of you. I know that as I stand here today, I'm standing before a community of defenders and doers and disruptors, professionals on the front lines of cyber risk and cyber resilience, professionals who are not only building the future of our technology, but also defending it. Many of you, I know, have spent sleepless nights tracking threats, recovering systems and protecting millions of Australians without fanfare. Thank you for what you do. And not just during times of cyber incidents, but every other day when our cybersecurity ecosystem runs in overdrive without so many noticing. The field of work is challenging. I'm so inspired to hear this, to hear Adam talk about the counsellor and the support that is here. I can't wait to play with the puppies. I got photos of them yesterday from my team. We can get it right every day without cause for notice. And yet just one thing has to go wrong for us to face potentially catastrophic consequences. I know there's a lot of pressure in that role. And as a nation, we are on a journey, and you are fundamental to shaping what comes next, as together we drive the direction of cybersecurity, culture, and capability. Like this year's conference theme, together we have to evolve and we will thrive. As a National Cybersecurity Coordinator, I support the Minister for Cybersecurity to ensure that the Australian economy is as cyber secure and cyber resilient as it can be. My team and I work to support the uplift and resilience of our government, our businesses and our citizens in order to prevent, prepare, respond to and recover from cybersecurity incidents. A big part of that role is harnessing, coordinating and cohering the unquestionable energy, passion, innovation, capability and initiatives within this sector. It's our job to channel that energy and amplify it and ensure that together we work to achieve the vision that's set out in the 2023-2030 Australian Cybersecurity Strategy to be a world-leading cybersecure nation. Let me give you a quick update on that journey. Without spoiling the ending, there is of course much more to do, but that statement alone belies the magnitude of what we've done together to date. You don't have to look very far across the last 18 to 24 months to identify the significant gains that together we have made under our strategy. Launched in November 2023, the strategy provides a comprehensive roadmap that has been instrumental in fortifying our nation's digital landscape, uplifting the safety and resilience of our citizens, businesses, government, and of course our critical infrastructure. As we head toward the end of Horizon 1 later this year, which is the first of 3 horizons under our strategy, which spanning 2023 through to this year, 2025, we have made significant gains. With 60 initiatives in the action plan, there are too many to list. But at the top of that list, if we did, would have to be the Cybersecurity Act. This is a major achievement and development which now legislates 4 distinct initiatives. That is security standards for smart devices, mandatory reporting for ransomware, for ransom paid by companies that have a turnover of more than $3 million, a cyber incident review board which will undertake lessons learnt reviews so that we can all learn from the incidents that impact our economy. So we don't have to relearn the lessons and we can bounce back quicker. And of course, the limited use obligation that I, along with my office and the Australian Signals Directorate, now have, which clarifies what we can and importantly what we can't do with information that is shared with us at the outset of an incident. This initiative is designed and has been really effective in enhancing the trust that we share across industry. From the outset of an incident, we are focused on responding to that incident, minimising the harm and mitigating the consequences. 30 May marks 6 months since the Cybersecurity Act was received royal assent, which means that the ransomware reporting obligation and the Cyber Incident Review Board will come into force next Friday. Limited use, that provision and obligation has been in place since assent, so it was immediate, and we are rolling out a phased approach to IoT device standards to ensure that manufacturers can adjust and comply. I encourage you all to engage with this legislation and understand the opportunities and also what it means for you and your companies. I also want to take the opportunity in the room of cyber professionals to really highlight the launch of a new phase of our Act Now, Stay Secure campaign. This is another key feature of Horizon 1. I hope by now that you've seen it on the TV or you've seen it on your social media channels, and I hope that it resonates with you and your loved ones. As an extension of the campaign that we ran last year, that received great effect but not enough reach. So we're really working hard to extend its reach because it is about cultural change. It's about behavioural change. It's been a significant project and passion of mine to raise awareness of cybersecurity across the whole economy. I say over and over again, cybersecurity is everyone's business. It's not just a technical topic, but it's a whole of nation conversation and endeavour. And I hope that everyone in this room is having their conversations with their families, with their loved ones, but also with your colleagues, with your employees, with your supply chains. By having these conversations and taking the simple actions that the campaign advertises is really going to uplift us and help us all be safer. As we have evolved as a platform-centric society, scams have become an unfortunate and very persistent aspect of our daily lives. Cybercrime is, in many cases, a really well-resourced and well-informed industry, and cybercriminals will continue to target our most vulnerable businesses and individuals. Across Australia, we are known for our strong physical culture. We are road safe. We are sun smart. We look after our kids in the neighbourhood. But we live now in a digital world and we must translate that culture and transfer it accordingly into that digital world. On one sense, I know I'm speaking to the choir, but I also know very intelligent and capable individuals who still use password 123. We know this still happens, and we still know that people use the same password for all of their accounts, all their banks. Very convenient. I have the same password, I hear. These actions must change, and they must form the behaviours that then become the basis for our changed culture. Please go to actnowstaysecure.gov.au. Send your kids there, send your parents there. Take steps to protect your loved ones and uplift the culture of our nation. Ultimately, under Horizon 1, we have laid the foundations. We are building cyber awareness, we've delivered legislation, and we've responded still to crises after crises, from ransomware attacks on hospitals to major data breaches, and most recently credential stuffing attacks on a number of our Australian superannuation funds. But we've strengthened partnerships between industry and government. It's been an absolute hallmark of these last 2 years, and we've begun shifting the national mindset. I do believe that cybersecurity now is considered as no longer optional, but essential. And these achievements are meaningful. But the truth is, they are the foundation and not the finish line. Horizon 2 is our next turning point. This phase, spanning 2026 to 2028, is about operational maturity. It's about scaling our efforts. It's where we must move from planning to performance, from building to embedding, and from reacting to resilience and rapid recovery. As we continue to evolve and take on that new challenge, we can be certain that our adversaries are doing the same. As a nation, as I said, we continue to face cyber threats, and they're increasing constantly in complexity, scale and sophistication. The most recent annual threat report from Australian Signals Directorate outlines that state-sponsored cyber espionage and cyber criminals remain our primary threats. While the self-reported cost of cybercrime is down for businesses overall, it's a non-intuitive marker there, because the small businesses are reporting that their cost is increasing. It's up 8% on last year to just under $50,000. And the cost of individuals is also up to around $30,000 for individuals who have cybersecurity incidents on average. The reason it's not intuitive is because it's worth highlighting that 92% of businesses in Australia are categorised as small businesses. So that is entities that have a turnover of less than $2 million. These businesses don't have the staff and the resources to have dedicated IT professionals or security functions, let alone the capacity to respond to an incident without help. Our adversaries also know this. Cybercriminals are responsive and adaptive. They see us as a rich source and slightly vulnerable. They capitalise on opportunities and will continue to evolve, especially as technologies continue to advance. We expect the ranks of threat actors to swell even further. With the growth of malware as a service and the proliferation of off-the-shelf DIY cybercrime tools, the cost of entry is relatively low for cybercriminals. And of course, we are facing industrial-sized cybercrime business models and, very sadly, scam factories. A big part of my job is to help us move as a nation from a position of playing catch-up and reacting to being a leader and being steps ahead, taking the necessary precautions and actions to harden our defences and build our resilience, to reduce the opportunity and the harm that can be caused by threat actors and make us all a smaller target. It's a big job, but I don't do it alone. Not only am I supported by my fantastic team, the National Office of Cybersecurity, but I lean into a very well-established and professional network of cyber experts across government, including states and territories, but also importantly across the industry. And so many of you here today are part of that partnership. This is absolutely the jewel in our crown, this public-private partnership. So today, I hope to leave you with a better understanding of where we're heading and the opportunities that we have to continue to work together under Horizon 2, leveraging the very best of what we each bring to this fantastic partnership and how we can together move forward to be leaders in cybersecurity. Horizon 2 will continue to see us build under our 6 shields. I know you're all familiar with our strategy. We will deliver against a time-bound action plan. We'll outline initiatives to seek to expand our reach under each of those shields, and we'll work across government, sharing the whole of nation responsibility across all governments and industry. We will continue to drive actions that impact, support and uplift all of our key stakeholders. For our citizens, we'll continue to drive cybersecurity awareness and education, from the youngest of our children to our elderly. We will support them to take simple actions to help protect themselves online and continue to evolve our Act Now, Stay Secure campaign to make it as easy as we can to evolve with the threat. We will continue to take action to shift cyber threats ultimately upstream and off our individuals. This will be done through a range of secure technology, secure by design, and more safety. We'll continue to drive also a strong and diverse professional cybersecurity workforce, driving the capabilities that they need to serve our cyber industry and make our cyber ecosystem a great place to work. We will remain focused on small and medium businesses and what needs to be done to make them more resilient and able to bounce back. We need to make them a smaller target to cyber criminals and ensure that they understand what to do when an incident happens, not so much if. We need our small businesses to continue to innovate, evolve and thrive and not be harmed or indeed paralysed by cybersecurity incidents. We will of course continue to partner and co-lead with big businesses and industry. This will continue to happen through forums such as the Executive Cyber Council, the National Cyber Intel Partnership and a range of working groups that we've established to really drive best practice across the cybersecurity ecosystem. We'll continue to enhance threat intelligence sharing across the economy and work with government and businesses to align our threat sharing platforms for simplified information flows. And we'll continue to partner with big business to drive uplift across the economy and, of course, build on our sovereign, secure cyber capabilities. Similarly, we will continue to collaborate with our critical infrastructure. Their security is paramount to our continued economic and social prosperity. Following the reforms of the Security of Critical Infrastructure Act in 2024, we will continue to drive cybersecurity uplift across our critical infrastructure, including our systems of national significance, to ensure that we are best positioned to effectively respond to the evolving threats. While Australia has seen the dark side of significant cyber incidents, such as Optus, Medibank, Latitude Financial, HWL Ebsworth, Ramsay Healthcare and MediSecure, we are actually yet to see a catastrophic cyber incident with impacts across multiple critical infrastructure sectors. We must continue to evolve and thrive to ensure that those scenes we see in Hollywood never actually eventuate. And finally, we know that government needs to lead by example. We will continue to enhance Commonwealth cybersecurity uplift across the Australian government to ensure we are meeting the standards that we place on industry. So these actions that I've outlined are a framework, not the final product. Cybersecurity is a national security issue and we need the whole nation to be part of it. Having said that, I don't believe I have ever seen better consultation, collaboration than what has occurred under the strategy. It's indicative of the importance and the effectiveness of our partnership and, as I said, the true jewel in our crown. So, before I finish, here are my asks as we move through Horizon 1 and onto Horizon 2. Please continue to help us drive general awareness and uplift across the country. Amplify Act Now, Stay Secure, and help us drive the cybersecurity culture of everyone in our nation. Keep pushing for innovation so that we can all expand secure technology that not only enhances our lives and removes friction, but also defends us and builds our sovereign capability. No matter how big or small you are, develop, maintain, and practice your incident response plans so that when the potentially inevitable happens, you are prepared, you can respond effectively and recover. Please also mentor new talent. Encourage school leavers and career changers to pursue the cyber field. We need to grow our cyber industry and at the same time make it a workplace of choice. And finally, hold government to account, but partner with us. Stay engaged, understand the role that each of us play and take every opportunity to collaborate with us and continue to share your vision as we undergo consultation. The Department of Home Affairs will soon lead a comprehensive consultation process to gain insights from industry as we build out our Horizon 2. As a start, you should expect to see in the coming months a discussion paper seeking your views. This will be followed by a series of formal and informal consultation to ensure the next action plan meets both the requirements and the expectations of the Australian economy, and we strive toward our vision. The difference between a secure nation and a vulnerable one is measured in the actions of all of us, including professionals, cybersecurity experts, government leaders, and individuals. Horizon 2 is about building resilience before the next breach and not after. It's about reminding every Australian, from the smallest business to the biggest agency, that cybersecurity is not someone else's job. It's all of ours. It's about normalising good security, not exceptionalising it. Together, I know we can show Australia what it looks like to be cyber secure. With that, I now welcome your views, your ideas, and any questions you have before I run away and find some dogs. Thank you.
Thanks, I'll get some questions.
Fantastic.
Wonderful presentation, thank you. This is a rare opportunity to ask questions of Australia's cyber lead. So throw your hands in the air. The first couple of people the microphones get to will ask those questions. You'll be happy to know you said password 123. It is a real concern. Not here. My password, big boy 123456, but the second B is a capital B. They're never going to get it other. I'm the safest thing going around. Great. I'll start with a question. Let's get some audience microphones. People want to ask. You talked about the threat landscape, especially on the sort of nation-state level. Three-part question. Who's the biggest baddie? Do you know? Are you allowed to tell me? It's China, isn't it?
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad I offered you the first question. Look, we continue to face state-based threats as well. And we've all seen it, the Volt typhoon, the Salt typhoon. It is well published. There is work there to be done. It is pervasive, it's persistent, and it is separate to the cybercrime that we see, which is impacting citizens, but it is actually threatening and impacting our critical infrastructure. You know, we have to constantly evolve to identify and uplift those norms to ensure that we aren't impacted by that.
You come from a military background. The thing that's fascinating there is not only is it now cybercrime as a ransomware thing, clearly North Korea is doing it to finance an economy that's, you know, riddled with sanctions and things like that, but it's also an accepted part of good old-fashioned warfare these days, isn't it? Often that sort of sweep goes through before the military physically invade. There's massive cyber strikes we saw in Russia, Ukraine, for example. It's become a tool of modern warfare.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think what we're seeing across the globe, we cannot accept as a norm. It is prepositioning that is unacceptable, attempts to do that. We have to come together like-mindeds around the globe and ensure that we uphold cybersecurity norms. We live in platform-centric society. There is no difference between the threat that my colleagues in Czechia face, where I was last month, and what we're seeing here in Australia. And together we need to continue to build our technology to make us resilient and also continue to uphold those norms.
We've got a question down here. Fire away, mate.
Thank you. I was just wondering, do you have any further comments or updates on the attack against the Australian superannuation industry?
Look, that was a credential stuffing attack. You've read it in the newspapers. This is where we need to constantly support and recognise sectors that are vulnerable and drive uplift. It was a relatively small number and a relatively small impact, but so critical given that every one of us has a super fund. It just continues to reiterate that we have to evolve our security and our resilience and be prepared for the unexpected.
Got a question down there.
Thank you for the opportunity. Would we see any confirmed policies on data retention, because there is variance across?
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of the suite of actions under Horizon 1, and the action plan is online. You can all look at it, and Home Affairs are working very hard, my colleagues there, to go through a data retention review and look at the data brokerage system. It's certainly something that we need to continue to address.
On the international front, you've done a lot of work in the United States. The US in 2025 is an interesting place. Trade relationships, very sort of rocky and unpredictable. Defence relationships, diplomacy and soft power, all the rules seem to change. Cyber, are they still, where's Australia's cyber relationship at with the United States? So much is important in information sharing and collaboration here. Are they a little bit more rock solid than some of the more public aspects of international relationships with that country might seem to be?
Adam, I think I take a different view, having worked my whole career with Five Eyes and working in and for the US. Those foundations across institutions are rock solid, and our Five Eye partners and the US as our premier ally really continues to be strong. Of course, things change, and we respond to the geopolitical scenarios and the changes, and we are an evolving world. But those relationships are foundational. They are strong, and these issues, particularly cybersecurity, are absolutely bipartisan, and we see that continue. You know, we are all facing the same threats, and we need to come together and move forward. We are stronger together, we're safer together, and I don't see a change in that.
Microphone is over there. What would you like to ask?
Thank you, Lieutenant General Mitchell. Thank you for your presentation. I'm the Vice President for the AUSCERT chapter in Queensland. I have a question for you. When I talked to my counterpart in US, I figured out that their posture is quite higher than us. Like US and UK, they are far ahead to us. So what measures we are taking to minimize the gap in terms of uplifting our cybersecurity posture or any kind of like a policy and process? As an example, they have a zero-day policy, which already been implemented, whereas we are actually is an advisory. They have already AI policy are implemented, GDPR, this kind of stuff, but we are behind. So these kind of things I see, what kind of actually policies and procedure government is thinking of to minimize the gap so that our maturity level can be up to the US and UK level.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Look, it relates to the last question, and we partner very closely with them. I'd say, having spent a lot of time with our international counterparts, Australia has a very strong ecosystem and we have a lot of potential. We see a lot of businesses, unfortunately, moving overseas and expanding there. So we need to continue to build our own capability. I don't think we're far behind in the policies, but these are really important reflections that we will undergo, and we'll undergo in consultation with industry on where we can drive better cybersecurity, particularly under Horizon 2. Please be engaged. Look out for consultation because, as I said, this is a deeply consulted strategy and we need your views across industry where you see gaps and opportunities.
I'll try and squeeze in these 3 more questions. Up the back there, then down the front here. Up the back there, let's go.
Hi, Michelle. One of the common pieces of feedback we're receiving at the moment from colleagues that have experienced attacks has been the amount of government reporting that needs to be done during the initial response phase. And the view is that while it's important, it is kind of getting in the way of that immediate response approach. And maybe the timing of that reporting and what's required in that could actually be reconsidered. So I don't know if you have a view on that, but it seems to be a common piece of feedback at the moment.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. We are an initiative under, one of those 6 initiatives is the streamlining of single portal reporting. So we are working with our regulators across the economy to actually have that single point where you reach out on cyber.gov.au to inform ACSC that will hopefully streamline some of that reporting. I think limited use also it has been a big support, and I welcome feedback on it. But the ability to reach out to the ACSC in Australian Signals Directorate, or the Australian Cyber Security Centre at ASD, and to the National Office of Cyber Security, my team, and share at the outset of an incident what you're thinking, how you're feeling, without feeling like that information will be shared with a regulator, used for regulatory purposes or investigative purposes, or used against you in class action. That's a really, really important move forward. There are, of course, very important regulatory requirements driven by timelines that impact some sectors. Some of those around, you can imagine if there is going to be instability in the market, they're really important. But when you reach out to us at the outset of an incident, my team will help you understand what you are required to do to move through that quickly, whether it be informing the OIIC of a data breach or something else, some other regulatory area. But certainly we are looking to, at the outset of an incident, be there to support the victim, to minimise the harm and rapidly mitigate the consequences without some of the other actions getting in the way. So there is some tension there, but we are looking constantly at how we can make it easier for businesses and with a view to also supporting the rapid recovery.
At the back there, what would you like to ask, mate?
Good morning, Michelle. I'd like to understand what the national view is on paying ransom. I've attended tutorials over the last few days and it seems quite normal to be paying it, and it seems that we are perpetuating the cybersecurity issue rather than actually fixing it, and we're insuring against it now as well.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a fascinating one, ransom, because you hear everything from some people say don't under any circumstances pay. Some people say pay, some people say haggle. Some say it depends on the nature of the strike and the data you're feared is lost. Do we have an official national position?
The government does not ever recommend you pay. It's not legislated against though, so it's not against the law to pay, and that is in consideration of a potential risk to life. I have worked through this with a number of boards and a number of entities, and I'm yet to find a scenario where paying solves any of your problems. Now, I imagine that in some small organisations who have lost their operating system and their ability to continue to trade without significant privacy breach might not have any other option. And we need to, part of our ransomware mandatory reporting ransom payments is to help us understand the amount of that economy, how much is being paid and what's happening. But I've worked through with boards and entities on exactly the challenge in an exercise and what problem are you solving. If your information is gone, you still have an obligation to declare and to remediate that with the victims of that PII. So if privacy information has gone, we find there is some research that says over 80% of entities who pay are then known as payers. So you'll be retargeted. we find that people who pay in the hope to get their information back, you haven't got the only copy of your information back, and the information that's gone continues to be used to extort, exploit, and for further cybercrime. So certainly for big business, there is no problem, I believe, that is solved by paying. Now, of course, there'll be plenty of experts, including the Australian Federal Police and others, who will look at options for how you might negotiate. And of course, it's a very tense time. It's the worst day of your professional life, potentially, where you are having to deal with a threat actor. I encourage you to reach out for support. Make your first call to the ACSC, cyber.gov.au, 1300 Cyber 1. Get support from the AFP. They're a great team, and you don't need to launch an investigation to share, because it's really important that we hold the intelligence and understand the ecosystem. But as you say, paying underpins the ecosystem.
Let's squeeze in one more question down the front. What would you like to ask?
Hello, I'm incredibly excited to be talking to you. Hello. I'm Sarah Brown. I work within state government. Part of the work that I do is working with your incredibly excellent Home Affairs team and the ACSC Partnership Program, a bunch of which are here today. I know that once Red Spice started rising as a program and SOCI and SONS came into force, there seemed to be more focus on critical infrastructure and less focus on local governments, which appear to have the broadest attack surface of government entities and support the most humans that live in the state, in the country. I'm encouraging and asking, will the information exchange and the partnership program, is that going to continue to expand with the subsequent horizons? The team has done an excellent job, and I would really encourage and ask, beg, if it could continue and expand. Can you tell me how it's going to?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and thank you for that. And I don't know if we have some of our amazing ACSC, ASD colleagues here in the room, but if you're not part of their partnership program, join. Individuals join, small businesses join, and of course that is part of our power. Rapid threat sharing, awareness of what's happening, and support is critical. That's how we will actually evolve at the speed of our adversaries. So the program continues. I encourage you to join it. At the heart of the strategy continues to be uplifting citizens, small businesses, individuals who need our help. So, we do look at a range of stakeholders from that small end to big industry, and it ranges from what we need to do to support and where we need to get help. So it will, of course, continue as we move forward. The strategy remains, the horizons remain, the shields remain. They continue to be the things that we'll focus on. But thank you for raising that and advocating for that.
One final really quick one as you go. Everyone here talks about, I hear it all the time, the challenge for these people is to sell it to the board. And it's understandable, the board have got so many different issues to think about. Cyber in some ways is a comparatively new issue. People might have risen to board positions over a career where cyber wasn't really at the forefront. Your board in some ways is the government. Name one person in the federal government now or past who we'd be surprised, wow, they really get it. Who's someone you've spoken to and you go, wow, this, and you're going to say, they're all great and they're all trying their hardest, but who's someone who really leapt out and the first time you spoke to them you thought, wow, I'm surprised that this person is, surprisingly across that topic.
Look, I've had the pleasure of working for two ministers. Both have been incredible. Minister Claire O'Neill had lived the live incidents around Optus and then actually was incredibly involved in the strategy. And Minister Burke is increasingly passionate about this, seeing cyber not only as a traditional cybersecurity issue, but a vector for our hybrid threats. So my answer is all of them. But let me just reflect on the other part of the comment there. Cybersecurity is not just a CISO's issue. And I say this, and I am here to support you, and you can take my words. It is a leadership issue. It is a risk issue. It is a resource prioritisation issue. It is absolutely a leadership and board issue. Because if you're not resourced and supported, you can't carry this. You're on the front lines, but absolutely we're sending a very clear message that this is about risk, prioritisation and leadership. So please quote me. I talk to as many boards and leaders as I can. We have great collaboration across large industry, working with CEOs and partners under the Executive Cyber Council, but that is a key message, and I see the society reacting and responding to that. But we need to keep pushing that up because this is everyone's business.
It is my pleasure to thank Australia's National Cybersecurity Coordinator and to present with a Lego dinosaur, Lieutenant General Michelle McGuinness. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Wonderful stuff.